You're recording, Rory.
Am I recording? Okay, so
Yeah.
good morning and welcome to a guide to Microsoft SharePoint and OneDrive. Our presenter today is Paul Graham from Changing Social. Good morning, Paul. How are we doing?
Good morning, Rory. I'm amazing. Thank you. I'm all the better for being here today and seeing you. Honestly, we've kind of got matching knitwear on today. It's very, very nice. So yes, great to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming today, Paul. And really looking forward to this exciting session. So, which just leaves me to say, enjoy the session, everyone, and I'll leave you to it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rory. You're the best. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Okay. So, Kirsty, should I start, or do you do any introductions first, or is it just something I should just?
No, lovely. You can just start, and I'll just be on hand, looking at the Q&A box, and I'll interrupt if there's any questions that need asking.
But of course. So before I actually start sharing my screen, thanks, Kirsty. Before I start sharing my screen, I just want to say, honestly, just think of this as a chat. Don't think of this as a training session or as like a technical person, because I'm not. Like, telling you things. Just honestly, just ask questions. You can take me down like tangents and different avenues. You can ask me about things which aren't like SharePoint or OneDrive related as well. I know I shouldn't really say that, should I? Because that's totally against like how this thing's normally done. So yeah, so just just chat with me. It'll be a whole lot of fun. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna share my screen like this. Boom. Share. There we go. Kirsty, can you see my screen?
It says that you've started sharing the screen, but there we are. Yeah, we're on. We're up and rolling.
Mega. Okay, so I've got some slides as well. How good's that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say from the beginning. Always start at the very beginning, Paul, because it's a very good place to start. Okay, so I've got captions on as well. Actually, the captions are really good. We'll leave them on. Okay, so yeah, so thank you. Big thank you for Umi for having me here today. I'm Paul Graham. I work for a company called Changing Social, and I do lots of this. I do lots of talking about SharePoint and OneDrive, Office 365, but really, I'm not really all that interested in the technology. I'm more interested in this as a communication platform and how we use it to collaborate and just to do stuff, really. I like to have fun. I think having fun is the most important thing, and also having a choice to be happy as well, because I think that's ever so important. Okay. Good. So there's a couple of links on there as well. So, if you want to have a look at the Changing Social website, it's very, very nice. It's got links on there for the stuff that we've done. There's a nice chat feature as well. So today's session is on SharePoint and OneDrive. Okay, so here's my preamble blurb. Okay, so I'm kind of going to guess. Most people actually on this webinar today, coming to this, what do you think of SharePoint and OneDrive and 365? I think for most people on this, probably think SharePoint is quite dry. It's pretty boring. What does SharePoint really do? I think most people just kind of use it as a document storage, somewhere where we kind of save our files. We might be doing a little bit of sharing, but it's not. It's not. Probably for most people, it's not that interesting. But I think the reason for that is because you've never had me as a guide for SharePoint. I'm really going to bring this to life for you in this session. And also like, I might sing you some songs as well, and have some kind of like side stories on this, because I know we like that. So I want to take you on a journey of the highways and byways of Office 365, like how it's like all interconnected. We're going to look at things like SharePoint team sites and communication sites, making it look nice, document libraries, OneDrive, which is actually just SharePoint in disguise, and also might look at like some like list formatting as well, and a bit of like Power Automate, Power Platform. Don't be scared by that. If I can do this, and I've got to say I'm in the bottom 5% of all intelligence tests, like everyone I've ever done, I'm always in the bottom 5%, and I can just about do this stuff. Okay, so I'm sure you'll be able to. Okie doke. Okay, I've actually got a proper running order as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at like how did we get here? Okay, so this is like You know, why are we using OneDrive? Why are we using SharePoint? You know, how did it come about? We're not going to look at, like, in terms of the bang. We're not going to go that far back, because that's too far back. We're not even going to look at, like, Homo erectus. Did you know, Kirst, that in terms of human beings, we're not even the most successful humans? Did you know
We
that?
aren't the most successful
We're
humans.
not in terms of, like, longevity. So I think, like, Homo sapiens, we've been around for, like, is it like 250,000 years, which is like a really short space of time. But Homo erectus, they're over for about 1 million years in terms of, you know, their
Really?
kind of, yeah, isn't that interesting?
It is
So
interesting.
yeah, but I'm not going back as far as that. So I'm just going to go back to when, you know, to how SharePoint came about, and then we're going to look at how we sign in. We're going to look at, like, com sites and team sites and the differences. I'm going to demonstrate all of this as well. So, you know, we're going to, you know, you can follow along as well if you want to at home or in your offices, wherever you may be. We're going to look at the permissions. We're going to look at Office 365 groups, because it's, like, all interlinked. We're going to look at SharePoint document libraries, which are really the same as OneDrive. We're going to look at SharePoint lists and why they're useful. We're going to look at how you can format a list. We're going to look at Power Automate and how it's just like the old board game Mousetrap. Do you remember Mousetrap? Do you remember Mousetrap, Kirsty?
Yes, hours of fun with Mousetrap in our house.
Oh, very good. It's good, isn't it? And so, do you remember, like, when you set off the trap as a ball bearing?
It used to set up though.
Oh, it does. It takes yonks, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ball bearing, and it runs down some stairs, and then like, it opens a gateway, and then there's a man, isn't there? The man jumps into the bath, and then a trap comes down, and it's like one thing, another thing, another thing, another thing. Yeah. And that's all Power Automate is. So as long as you just think of Mousetrap, it's absolutely fine. And then Power Apps, and again, I don't want any of this kind of stuff to be confusing, but Power Apps is just this really nice front end that you can put onto Excel documents, or you can put onto SharePoint lists. Okay, so it's a nice session. It's going to be really, really good. Okay, so let's get started. Oh, that's really interesting. Google opened up a page there for dummies.com on my phone. That was, like, quite Freudian. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start at the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is just pretending that I've not logged into Office before. If I just go to Google on here, so I've got Google, and if I say Office login, this is how we're going to log into SharePoint or OneDrive. Now, I'm going to guess that for most people attending the session today, you are using Office 365 for SharePoint and OneDrive, and that you haven't actually got it on premise. Can I just check though? Can anybody, you know, raise your hands or alert Kirsty if anybody's using SharePoint on premise? I guess there shouldn't be too many people. And so what we're going to do first is we're just going to log into Office 365. So I've typed into Google there, Office login. First link that comes up is Office 365 login, and I give that a click, and then I'll go into this. So this is the start page for Office 365. Obviously, if I wasn't already signed in, it would be asking me to sign in with my user details. So for me, when I sign in to office.com, I'm signing in. This is a test account that we use within the company I work for, just for doing demonstration purposes like we're today. And so within, I've got my recommended documents. Actually, Kirsty, has anybody messaged to say that they're using SharePoint on premise?
Sorry, Paul, I've got myself on mute there. No, 2 seconds. There's no one's mentioned that they're using it on anything on premise. No.
Oh, okay. Right, that's good. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're signing into office.com, and from here I can see recommended documents. Okay, and it says on here folders document, how to document, and then on here I've also got recent documents. I've got pinned documents, shared with me, and discover. All of these things on here either relate to documents I've got stored, okay, on OneDrive, yeah, or SharePoint. Okay, so that's, the first thing I want you to be aware of is that whenever we're using OneDrive or SharePoint in Microsoft 365, we are just using the same mechanisms. Everything that we save within Office 365, it's shared really through SharePoint. SharePoint is the storage mechanism. It's the storage bit of Office 365. So whenever you're using a document on Office 365, it's stored on SharePoint. Does that make sense? Kirsty, does that make sense to you?
Yes, perfect sense.
Marvelous. Okay, thank you. But one of the good questions is, well, like, how did we get here? We're logging into Office 365, and we can already see, from this starting page that it shows all the things which I've got access to, whether it's things that I've saved on my SharePoint sites, or whether it's things that I've saved onto my OneDrive. How did we get here? And the history of this goes something like this. So SharePoint came out, I think it was in 2001. And when it came out, it was like this mysterious thing, because what it let people do was to save documents within the web browser. Okay, and before that, you couldn't. So it was like magic, before 2001. People saved everything either to their computer, or they saved them to what would be kind of a shared drive, like an S drive or a G drive. That's what people used to do. And then SharePoint came out, and what it was used primarily for at the start was just as this kind of storage mechanism, which you could connect to using web browsers, and that was the start of it. And it was like that for a good few years. And if you think back to 2001, I'm probably one of the oldest people actually attending this webinar today, because I'm pretty old. If you think back to 2001, then Microsoft's competitors in 2001 were companies like IBM. There were companies who made like hardware, or made a little bit of software, but that software, it was actually installed onto the computer. It wasn't like on the internet. And then as time ticked on, then Google came out, and then about 10 years ago, Microsoft, excuse me, had to respond to this challenge from companies like Dropbox and Google and Amazon Web Services. And so what they did was they took their technology that they'd had from the early 2000s, and there's my phone again, it's gone off. Switch it off. They took their technology that they had, which was web browser based, and they put it into the cloud. And whenever we say the cloud, really all we're really saying is it's just, it's on the internet, it's on other people's computers, and it's these computers which are just held together in data centers. And what we're doing is we're just saving our documents and our information through web browsers. That's what we're doing. Okay. Kirsty, does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. I keep putting myself on mute so that my cat doesn't disturb you.
Oh, it's fine. Honestly, I love. It's one of the things with this is because this is like broadcast. Whenever we're using Zoom, it's such a broadcast technology, isn't it? It's so for me, I really enjoy listening to people breathe.
Can you say that?
No, of course you can, because it's so comforting. You're talking, people are going and and then you'll do a bad joke, and then people will go, oh, I like the size as well. So anyway, so that's how we came to this stage. And so yes, very much when we're using Office 365 and we're using SharePoint, it's because SharePoint can be used so brilliantly within web browsers. Now, one of the things I'm sure you're thinking at the moment is, well, that's really good, that is, Paul, but what's the benefits of saving to Office 365? What's the benefits of saving to the cloud? Well, when we're using Office 365 and we're using SharePoint and OneDrive, the biggest benefit is viruses and nasties and malware and all these things which you know, really problematic in 2020 in terms of, you know, security of our files. So as you might be aware, you know, if you save your files to your computer and you don't patch your computer, you don't keep it up to date, or if you're saving your files to shared drives, and again, you know, IT departments with the best will in the world. I mean, there was that thing recently, wasn't it, with the NHS a couple of years ago, where they got a worm attack, and you know, it was a privacy attack, I think, and it started encrypting documents, and it, you know, wreaked havoc. You know, it's a real problem. And so one, you know, one of the big reasons to use SharePoint and OneDrive is that it protects your files, so that anything that you're saving on there, it's, you know, it's going to be on the latest patch level. It's going to be, you know, on the latest security. It's encrypted. Okay, it's like, it's really, you know, it's really great for that. And I guess when, you know, as I'm saying this, I'm kind of thinking, what you'll be thinking is, okay, well, but what about being in the cloud, Paul? You'll be thinking, is that not a concern? And I just want to put your minds at rest with that. Microsoft 365, it satisfies something called ISO 27001, which is a European law. It means that the data can't move outside of the EU. It means your data can't be transferred, it can't be sold. Your data is your data. So even if it's stored on somebody else's servers or devices, that data is the property of you, of yours. You know, it's you know, not only is it super secure, but it's also super safe as well. Okay. Kirsty, do you have any questions yet?
So we've got one question, but I think we will come to it. Emma's asked, will you be talking about how MS Teams and SharePoint work together?
I can do. So what I would say is, when we get to part 2, you know, after 11 o'clock, and we have our 5-minute comfort break, can you just remind me of that? And then what we'll do is we'll cover that at the end, because it is really important, you know, that we do cover that. I haven't actually included it in this, but we can cover it. It is all part of the same system. So whenever we're using Teams, we are using a combination of OneDrive and SharePoint. Okay, good. So what I want to do is, I'm just going to keep on going back to my list. So what we've done there is, you know, we've done, how did we get here? You know, what is SharePoint really? We've signed in, and now what I want to do is I want to kind of create a couple of sites so you can see the differences in them. So on here, what I'm going to do is, see, I don't think this is a great view. I'm going to click on the app launcher, and I'm going to say all apps, because I want to see all the apps on here. And then I'm going to say SharePoint. So this page we're going to now with an Office 365, this is like an excellent starting page. You know, from here, I can search all the SharePoint sites which I've got access to. Please don't worry about data security too much in SharePoint. As long as you've set your SharePoint sites up correctly, and you've shared your OneDrive appropriately with the, you know, and we're going to look at sharing in this session, then you're only going to see the things that you've got access to, or the things which have been made public for you to be able to access. Okay. So from this page here, I can see the SharePoint sites that I'm following, and all that means is the SharePoint sites which I've gone into and put the little star next to, so that I can see, you know, activity within those SharePoint sites. I can also see recent sites as well on here. So look, for example, there's Paulie's private team. It hasn't got a star next to it. I'm not following that, but it is a team that I recently created. I've also got Paul. I've got Paul demo SharePoint site as well. And then I've got featured links on here. So what I can do on here is I can add links as well. So I can put links to different things. There can be things inside or outside the organization. So this is like a super useful page to come to and to configure for yourselves, to, you know, have your favorite sites on here, just so you've all got them all visible. I know for many organizations, you might only have, like, you know, a couple of SharePoint sites. You might have half a dozen, or you might have hundreds. And so this is just a good way of just, you know, cataloging them and, you know, searching for information. So what you can do from here is you can say search. I just want to show you this. And if I come into here and I type in, for example, just going to have a think of this. If I put in here demo and I press enter, then what it's going to do is it does this search, and this search is really powerful. It's searching everything across Microsoft 365. It's searching my OneDrive. It's searching all the different SharePoint sites. It'll find all the individual files. In the first tab, what it does is it shows everything, all the things that we can look for. And then I can say, okay, well, just show me the files. So then it's going to show me the files which contain the word demo or have the word demo somehow related to them. And one of the things I really want you to know about this is a fully indexed search, right? So even if the document doesn't have demo in the title, but it has demo within the document, then what's going to do is it's going to retrieve that document for us. It's an incredibly powerful search. A lot like Google. Yes.
And I just interrupt there just because Tony's put in the chat that our SharePoint looks nothing like that. So can I assume we are using it on premise?
Possibly. That's really interesting. So was it Tony, did you say, Kirsty?
Yes.
Okay, so Tony, your address when you log in, if you're not logging into office.com or along the top here, if it doesn't say, name of your organization, then .sharepoint.com, then you might well not be logging into to Office 365. It could well be on premise. However, Tony, don't go away, okay? Because as we get into the site details, they're all just the same. It works in the same kind of way. Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome. And so I can see all the files. I can see all the sites, which is all the SharePoint sites, which got the word demo within there. I can also see the people. So there's a person called Paul Demo as well, and I can check news for the word demo. There's nothing in there. So there we go. Okay, so search, really powerful. So what we're going to do first, though, is we're going to say on here, we're going to say create a site. Now, years ago, there used to be like loads of different types of sites within SharePoint. Okay, now there's only two. There's a team site and there's a communication site. And a team site, just as the description says here, it says share documents, have conversations with your team, keep track of events, manage tasks, and more with a site connected to a Microsoft 365 group. Okay, now the key thing here is this word group. Now I want you to keep that in your minds because that is important. And then the communication site, it says over here, publish dynamic, beautiful content to people in your organization to keep them informed, engage with topics, events, or projects. So the big differences here between the two sites is a team site has a group associated with it. And what the group is, it's like a distribution list for a group of people, or it's like having a shared mailbox, or it's like having a reusable security group that you can just keep on utilizing across Microsoft 365. So if you've got a team site, okay, which we are going to create, then what you can do is you can keep on using that security group. If you've got like 20 people in there, and then you want to then create another SharePoint site, but you don't want to have to allocate all that access out, or if you've got a Microsoft team and you want to grant the same 20 people to that team as as those who have access to the SharePoint team site, then you can just reuse that Microsoft 365 group. Okay, anyway, we're going to do this. We're going to demonstrate this, but I just want to plant that seed for you as well. In the communication site, though, you don't get the group, but what you do get is you get this lovely page design. You get it, it's full width. Anyway, let's build two, just so you can see what's going on. So on here, I'm going to type in here Umi. I'm going to type in Umi team site. I'll put today's date in as well, I think. Oh, actually, I'll just put in. What month are we in, Kirsty? Still September, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we're September.
Late September more. That's Neil Diamond as well, isn't
it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Love that song. And so on here, privacy, I can select whether it's going to be a private SharePoint site or whether it's going to be a public. SharePoint site. And, just as this says, it says, private only members can access this site, or public says anyone in the organization can access this site. Okay, so it's fairly self-explanatory. We're just going to have this is private. I would say most times you're probably going to have private SharePoint sites, especially if the team sites. It's only going to be the people that you've actually invited to participate within that team. So then I'm going to say next. And then on here, I've got the option to add additional owners. So I'm going to add Megan into here, our marketing manager, like so. And, one of the things on here I just want you to be aware of, you can see on here we have owners and we have members. So whenever you create a SharePoint site, you get 3 groups. However, there's only 2 of them actually on here visible on at this stage of the SharePoint site creation. So we do have owners, they're the people who actually own the site, and then we have members, and they're the people who actually are members of the site. Now owners, they can do everything on the site. They can create, they can delete, they can they can delete the whole site. They can add people as well to the site. They can remove people from the site. They have full control. Members, they can't. They can only participate within here. So if I come in here and I type in somebody to be a member, so I'll put Fran in here, and I'll say finish. Then what we'll get really quickly is this SharePoint site. Okay, like so. Dead easy, very, very quick. And what the SharePoint site looks like is this really. I mean, these always look the same whenever you create a team site. So down the left, we have a bunch of links. So we'll just go through these links on the left-hand side, and we'll go through the whole page just so you're a little bit familiar with it. So on this page here, we can see this is the home screen, and on the home screen here, we have a link to news. We're going to look at this in a bit more detail. We have quick links. We have a link to documents. Well, this is a web part. All these blocks here are called web parts, but don't worry about that too much. It's just a way of creating pages quickly and bringing the information that you want onto the page. And then on here as well, you can see recent activity. We've got an option of dragging files as well. It's all quite nice. Also, what I have is, remember I was saying about having a shared mailbox. If I come over here and I click on conversations, I'm just going to say open this in another tab. Then look what I get. Whoop. Get this. I get a shared mailbox. Well, what looks like a shared mailbox. It's actually a group, but it does behave like a shared mailbox. And in here, look, it says UMI Team Site September. And what I can do is from here, I can send emails, just like I would do if I wanted to. So I can send, to this email address. Your email addresses look different to this because this is because it's on a test demonstration Microsoft 365 environment. So yours will actually end with your particular business name here after the @ But what it means is, you can utilize that and you can send on behalf of it, or you can send to that address. So if I was to copy that, for example, and then I was to come into the email, and then I was to say, because this is my email as well, if I said new message, then what I could do is, look, I could send to that email address, like so. Boom. Test team email. Okay, now I think that's like dead useful and a bit underutilized. So if you remember what it was like, a few years ago, if you wanted to create a distribution list, or if you wanted to create a shared mailbox, you had to ask people in the IT department. Well, using this stuff, you don't have to do that. This puts all that power and all that control and all that creativity, puts it within your grasp, which is really nice. I think that's nice. Do you think that's nice, Kirsty?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's good, isn't it? It's really good. Okay. And then down here, we have a link to documents. I'm going to come back to that in a bit. And then if I open up Notebook, this is a shared OneNote notebook. Look, so we're getting this as all part of this particular SharePoint site. Look, I'm just going to say, yeah, I've got that. And on here, this is shared with everybody who's a member of this particular SharePoint site, which is fab. Then I've got a link to pages. We're going to look at that in a moment as well. I've got a link to site contents. and I've got a link to recycle bin. Recycle bin's ever so important. Anything that gets deleted off a SharePoint site, it goes and sits in there for 90 days. And you can still get it back after that. It goes to a secondary stage recycle bin. That's another great thing about SharePoint, right? Is that you have all this fantastic, recovery of options. We're going to look at version history as well a little bit later on. That's like the best thing in IT ever, ever, ever. And then over here, look, I've got an announcement. I've got settings, and I've got a help button as well. If I click on the settings, which looks like a snowflake, but it is settings, from here I can add a page or add an app, or look at site content, site information, site permissions, site usage, change the look, and site designs. On here, some of the stuff which is on the left here is just replicated, but probably the most important one that you're going to use all the time is site permissions from here. And so under site permissions, I can see, well, who has access to this. Now, if I click on site owners, then what we have is, we have the name of the group that's been allocated as a site owner to the SharePoint site. If I click on members, then look, this is the members of that group. Now, don't be worried about this. I know this is a bit bewildering, but also we have on here, we have site visitors as well. Okay. And site visitors, they've only got read access. Members, they've got edit access, and owners, they've got full control. Okay. You've also got this option about site sharing, and on here for site sharing options, you can say, okay, well, who's allowed to share from this site? So you can lock this down to a degree and say members. We're not going to let members share files. We're just going to say it's owners only. You can also do things about access requests. So if somebody comes to a SharePoint site and they don't have access to it, you can say, well, who am I going to alert? Am I going to alert a specific email? So you might want to send it to a shared mailbox. You might want to send it to just like one person who's going to get the access requests when somebody actually wants to get access to the site. You can even have a custom message on there as well, which is absolutely fab. Okay. So what I want to do now, though, is I want to create a SharePoint communication site, because I want to show you the differences. Okay. Is that all right? Okay. Boom. Kirsty, do you have any questions?
We haven't got no questions this far, Paul.
Oh, no. Do you think that's because everybody's bored?
Oh, no, I don't think anyone's bored. I think you're just filling in everything that they need to know.
I don't know, because I always worry when nobody asks any questions.
We've got one. Someone's took pity and asked one. How do you delete a site?
Oh, brilliant. See? That's great, isn't it?
Ask and you'll receive.
I know. The thing is, I always think, like, if nobody's asking, I've either totally lost people, or they're like, dear me, this isn't very good. And I've got to say, it worries me, because, like, I am a worrier, Kirsty.
No, don't worry.
No, I do. Honestly, I really do, because, like, if you're going to do what I'm doing now, it's like, it's all for people to use it, and if they don't use it, then I've totally failed, haven't I? If people don't ask questions and don't like SharePoint, I'm a complete failure. I don't want to be I don't want to be a failure, not really. So here is a communication site. You can see, the building process is exactly the same. I just said, create a site, and this is a com site. Now look at the differences. I am going to come back and answer that question, by the way, as well, just in a tick. Look at the differences. So this is a team site, yeah, and that's a communication site. Team site, communication site, and you can see, can't you, the differences are quite noticeable. On the communication site, it's a lot prettier, isn't it? We don't have the links down the left-hand side. It just looks a bit nicer, doesn't it? It does. It does. And so I just want to show you the massive difference between the two in terms of security. On the communication site, if I click on the cog and then click on site permissions, then look at this. If I click on site owners, look what we've got. It now doesn't disclose the group. It says the person. It says Paul Graham's got full control. And if I come onto here and I say share site and I type in Megan again, and I say boom, Megan, then on here, I get this option to say, well, Megan's going to be able to read or is she going to be able to edit, or is she going to have full control? And so from this point of view, this is how the permissions are controlled on a communication site, because they are controlled, okay, at the site level. They're not in a group. This is just for this particular SharePoint site. And I do know this is quite a lot to understand. I know it took me quite a long time to understand this, but I just want you to be aware of it. So for Megan, I'm going to say she's got edit access, and then I say add, and then look now. Megan's a member because members have got edit access. Let me just do that again. If I come into here and I say Fran, I'm going to say Fran's only got read access, okay? And so Fran goes into the visitors permissions within here on this SharePoint communication site. If I go back to the team site that we created and I click on the cog and I go site permissions, right? I just want to show you this. If I say invite people and I say add members to this group, like so, watch what happens now. See, I've got a different experience. So on here, I'm going to say add members. Now I've got a lookup. Okay, so on here, I'm going to type in Mark. And then I'm going to say save. And you see, look, so by default, Mark gets added as a member. And if I drop that down, though, I can say, right, well, let's make him an owner. Okay, but there's no option on there to make him a visitor. To make somebody a visitor from a SharePoint Teams site, I've got to click on permissions and I've got to go into advanced permission settings. Okay, and then from here, I've got a slightly different view of it, which is like an older view of SharePoint permissions. So you can see on this particular team site, I've got a group here called visitors. And if I wanted to add somebody to that visitors group, I could now go into here and say new, and then I can add somebody onto here. So let me just see if I put in Steve. There we are. And I'm going to say, yeah, add Steve onto here as a visitor. And then what we have now is we have Steve added as a visitor on this particular Microsoft Teams site. So now if I come into here and I look at the number of members we've got, this is showing me these are the members, but you can see it doesn't show me the visitors. Okay, so just be aware of that. It can be a bit of a minefield, can permissions within SharePoint sites between yes.
We've got a couple of questions on the back of that. I think
I thought so, because it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
But on the back of that, I think you might have answered it, but Margot put, can you have a member from another organisation?
Okay, so I'll answer them in sequence. Actually, before I answer that, Kirsty, let me just show you how you delete a site, because I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
So on here, on any site, if you click on the cog, now you can only do this if you're an owner, okay? Click on the cog, go to site information, give that a little press, and then look, you've got this button here for delete site. Boom. Okay, and then what it does is it goes into a recycling area. For I believe on a team site, I think it's 30 days. You've got until you can actually until it gets permanently deleted, but you need a member of the IT team to be able to recover it for you. Okay, right. Oh, sorry, Kirsty, I'm terrible for this. I do apologize. And on the communication site, okay, it's just the same. So it's site information, look, delete site. It's always under site information. Cool, right.
So yes, can you have a member from another organisation?
Okay, let me so I'll answer that first. So yeah, so what you can do is you can invite people in to your site. So on here, for example, if I go site permissions and I say share site, so what I can do is I could, see, I don't know whether it's going to let me do this because this is my test tenant. If I put into here paul.thomas.graham at outlook.com, this is my personal email address. Oh yeah, look, it says here your organization policies do not allow you to share with these users. Go to external sharing and Office 365 admin center to enable it. So it all depends on your policy, okay? But if you've got that turned on, then what you can do is you can invite somebody in and then they'll get an email with a bunch of instructions on and then they'll be able to join your site. So yes, you can do that. And what you can do is you can decide which of those groupings you want to put them into. As far as I'm aware though, in fact, I know this to be true. This is a guest permission. So, you know, you have to assign the permissions at the kind of the group level. You will not be able to make them an owner. Okay.
Thank you. Emma's asked, can you give an example of when and why you might choose a communication site over a team site, please?
Who asked that question?
Emma.
Emma, that's a brilliant question. And so, yes, I can. So another bit of a history lesson, and it goes like this. Up until about 3 years ago, Microsoft were never interested in like intranet, you know, like this kind of page. So this bar along the top is really annoying, isn't it? 1 second. Microsoft were never really interested in intranet. And when I say intranet, I mean like web pages. If you wanted to make a really interesting web page on SharePoint, okay, you had to go to like somebody like me or to a third-party designer and do it. Kirsty, can you still see my screen share?
No.
Oh, that was good of me, wasn't it? Have I just turned that off? That's just unbelievable. You know, I do that so often. You wouldn't, maybe you would believe it. There we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Marvelous. Okay, so I'm going to show you something now. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. So Microsoft have something called, right? Not look fantastic. Why did it do that? Hold on. Look book. Okay. So Kirsty, do we have somewhere we can actually put links in on Zoom? I don't use Zoom too often.
So you could put them in the chat.
Okay.
So there's a little chat.
Is it question and answer? Is it there?
There's a Q&A on the bottom of your, or it might be on the top of your screen because you're sharing. And there's a little chat box, and if you select it, it'll bring up all the chats. I think you've wrote in it, haven't you, already, to say good morning?
I did, but I can't remember where I put that now.
Yes, it's on. It should be, if you're sharing your screen, if you go and kind of hover over that you were sharing your screen bit at the top.
Yeah. Oh, here. Yeah.
Should be a little. There's like sort of participants, Q&A, and then a chat box. If you click on.
Oh yeah, look at that. You're the best. Okay.
It'll pop up, and then if you select all panelists and attendees, just so that everyone can see it, and then type it in there. Also, though, if it's something that you wish to share, I can make sure that goes out in the email at the end of the session.
Oh, you're the best. I'll put it in now though, otherwise we'll just like I'll forget. So I'm like that. So I'll put in here SharePoint site designs. Okay, and you can connect these into your organization as well. They're absolutely fab. So if I go into here and I just go boom, okay. Right, that's really handy. Honestly, that's absolutely super duper. I'll keep on putting things in there if it's okay, Kirsty, just so I don't forget. So on here, look, it says you can create stunning SharePoint sites. So it's got various examples from here. Look at this. How good's that? It's brilliant, isn't it? And this is a SharePoint site, and it shows you on here how you can actually add these features. So it's saying like it's got a mega menu, it's got a compact header. Then it's telling you what web parts have been used. Don't worry about web parts too much yet. I'm going to show you these, and that web parts are just like these little blocks and things that we can put onto sites. That's all they are. And so to answer the question, Emma's really good question. Com sites are used as kind of like landing pages for things, you know. So if you're in an organization and you want to kind of like really, you know, wow people or kind of like, you know, capture their imaginations and tell them what's going on, then you'll have a communication site. And then with that, you'll probably then have like a team site that's connected off there. And one of the things I really want to make you aware of today as well is something called hub sites. So in SharePoint, right, what you can do is you can have sites connected to each other, and they're called SharePoint hub sites. So what you can do is you can have like a communication site, okay, and then you can have a link to a team site, or you can have a team site and a link to a communication site. And just this way, it means that you can join those resources together. So if you've got documents on one, you'll be able to see them on the other. If you've got participants on one and you've put them into Office 365 groups and you've added those groups to the different sites, well, then they can all be, you know, used as one super site. So you get the best of both. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
Lovely. Sam's asked, can you convert one site type to another?
Not easily. I wouldn't recommend it. That's what I would say. I would say like no, I would say just don't do it. What I've seen people do quite often is they'll have a SharePoint communication site, and then what they'll do is they'll create an Office 365 group, because you can create groups, okay, using Outlook. Kirsty, should I demonstrate that, do you think?
You can do it if you think you're going to have time to do so. That
I know I'm murdered for this. I'll still be talking at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Only to myself though. I think everybody will have gone. Everybody will have gone. Okay, I'm just going to put hub sites in here. Just plant some seeds and just think. Oh, remember that daft person talking about this the other day. So SharePoint hub sites, really, really useful things. And it's got a really good graphic down here. Look, indicating how they join. So look, you'd say, oh, look, there's the hub site, and then you can move them. So then you can move the different sites around. Isn't that fab?
Lovely.
Honestly, it's just the best thing in the world ever. And so look, I'm just going to show you this about groups. So what you can do is in Outlook, I'm just going to go into Outlook, and then you might have noticed this before. When you're in Outlook on the web, on here you can come in, you can say like new group, and then you can create a new group. So I'm going to call this UMI test group, okay, like so. And look, it's asking me the same things as what we did before, private or public, it's saying. And then on here, it says members will receive all group conversations and events in their inboxes. You can stop following this group. They can stop following this group later if they want to. And so again, this is how it actions like a shared mailbox. And then you can say create. Okay, I'll just add some people in here. I'll add Megan. Say add, boom, like so. And then what I can do is I can come onto the site here and I can say site permissions. And then if I say advanced permission settings. Now, one of the problems about creating Microsoft groups is it takes sometimes about 30 minutes for the group to appear. But let's try it. Okay, so if I come into owners on here and I say add, you might not see it. Might be one of those tomorrow's world's demonstration moments. Okay, so what we've got is we can see the test group members. In about 30 minutes, though, we would actually see that group I've just created, and then you can add that to this particular SharePoint site. And you can do that for either team sites, or you can do it for communication sites, but it's just a way of linking up your security. Okay. Kirsty, was that okay? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. We've got another couple of questions. Do you want me to ask those, or do you want to?
No, I do. I love them. Yeah, the questions, please.
So if you have all of your stuff on OneDrive or SharePoint and decide you no longer want to subscribe to 365, can you retrieve all of your stuff?
You can. What I'd advise is that you would obviously you would download it all first and just put it somewhere, just making sure it's safe and secure.
Cool.
That's what just those things. Because once the agreement is once the agreement's terminated, then Microsoft have an obligation to delete all that data for GDPR legislations and regulations. Yeah.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And can you invite people from other organisations to the communication site? They may have a Gmail email.
You can, as long as the permission's been turned on. So yeah, you can. So yeah, you can do that. If I flick into my other tenant on here, this is a different organisation. I'll just very quickly show you on here. And if I go to my OneDrive, for example. So this is not my test. This is a different Office 365 login. Okay. So if I was to go into here and I was just to say, okay, I just want to share that, for example, because I know external sharing is enabled on here. Then what I can do is I can just type in my external email address, paul.thomas.kramer@outlook.com, look, and then boom, I can just send it. And then that person will get a link. So you can do that.
Cool.
Okay. Right. Just in the next 5 minutes or so, then I just want to touch briefly on document libraries and how document libraries work. Okay, just before we run up to our break. I think we'll break at about what, 11 o'clock. Is that okay? So here we go then, Kirsty. Just going back. Was that all the questions, Kirsty?
Sorry, yes, that was all the questions that we had.
Marvelous. Thank you. Oh, just move this out of the way. Just going to go back to SharePoint. Just want to show you the document libraries now. So on this team site, document library, and also the other SharePoint site that we had before the communications SharePoint site, the document libraries just work in the same way. If I click on the communication site document library, look, it's just the same as this document library. So in here, what I can do is I can say, okay, well, what I'd like to do is have a new folder. So on here, I'm just going to call these, I'll call this folder 1, like so. And inside folder 1, I'm going to say new Word document, like so. And in this Word document, I'm going to go and get my favorite quote of all time. Roll Dahl the twits, like so.
Oh, it's mine too.
Oh, is it really? Genuinely?
Yeah.
I love it. This one, a person who has good thoughts. Yeah.
Like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely.
It's just, honestly, it's the best, isn't it? It's just lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So on here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that text into there. I'm going to rename the document. So I'm going to call this Dahl quote the twits. I try and read the twits at least once a year. I absolutely love it. And so from here now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make you aware of something called version history. Okay, so you can see on here this document we've just created. I just created it and modified it a few seconds ago. Everything that we do within a SharePoint document library, it's tagged. So you can see in here it's got a name, it's got modified. There's also other columns on here. So if I say show hide columns, I'm going to say, well, I want to see, you know, who created it by. I also want to see when it was created. I've also got loads of other things on here as well. Look, I've got, you know, sensitivity and lots of other stuff, which, you know, it's really, really useful. I've also got file size. Look, I'm going to have that. Okay. So I'll say apply, and so I can add these columns onto this, so I can see, well, it was created a minute ago, it was created by me, it was modified by me, and it was modified a minute ago. And I can see what the file size is as well. So it's super useful stuff. One of the things I want to do on this is I want to go and get one of these images. Please don't get me into trouble with the copyright people. I am going to delete this after I've done it. It's really bad, isn't it? It might come and get me, actually. Right. Paste. Okay, boom. And so what I've done is I've put that image onto there as well. Now, with version history, what we have is, if I give that a refresh, look what's happened, right? So I've got on here, I've got the document, it was modified a few seconds ago, but it was created 2 minutes ago. And the file size, it's gone from being 16 kilobytes to 979. It's because we put an image on there, right? Not fab. But what I can do is I can come into here and I can say version history. And we have 3 versions of the document. We have the document that was first created. Don't worry about the time, it's only because it's a test tenant. It's set for America. We have the document that was first created. Then we have the document with the text. And we have the document with the image. And what I can do is I can go into the document. It's like having a backup built into every document. And you have this whenever you save into OneDrive, whenever you save into SharePoint, it remembers the last 500 changes to a document. It's absolutely fantastic. And in here, if I click on here, I can save version history. Watch what it does. So I have just now, and then I have 3 minutes ago. So I've got one that's just now, and I've got one which is blank. Now it hasn't got the text in there, but that's because I did it really quickly. But if you were like saving changes all the time, or if you had multiple people working together in a document library, or you'd shared one of your OneDrive documents, then every time somebody's making a change, a substantial change, it's going to save a version of it. Okay. It's going to save that version history. Just to prove this works, by the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to go back to the document library, and I'm going to go back to the version where the image wasn't on there. So if I go back to folder 1, and I click on the 3 little dots, because the 3 little dots is always our options. I click on version history, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, you know, I don't want the document now. So I'm going to say restore, and look what happens. I don't lose any of the other versions. I just get a version 4. And so now if I go into the document, I should see I've got the text, but not the image. Wow. Isn't that good?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. I'm like, yeah, yeah, no, I'm not there.
It is fab though. Do you use that? Do you use version history?
I don't actually, so I've just learned a little something there.
Honestly, it's an absolute lifesaver. Just this morning, I'm working on quite a big project, and it was to do with SharePoint pages. We've created like hundreds of them, and one of the pages, after a lot of work, some of the information went missing. But you see, even pages on SharePoint are under version history. So if I come into the document, it's great, isn't it? If I come into this document library and click on the little cog here, and then I go library settings, yeah, then under here I can say version settings, and it says to here how many copies it's serving, how many number of major version settings are being saved, and it's 500. I mean, you can up that value as well, but just be wary of overheads onto your document library. Okay, so there we go. SharePoint document library.
We have one. Oh, we've got a couple of questions. Do you want to answer them before we go to break?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay. So Nick's asked, can you migrate an existing document folder structure across to SharePoint from a physical server location?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, yes, you can. The way I would do it. Who was the person who asked that?
It was Nick that asked that question.
Nick, did you say?
Nick, yeah.
Nick, yeah. So Nick, you can but just be mindful. There's a process for migrating data from large amounts of data. So if I go into here and I type in SharePoint files migration best practice, look, yeah. Then I totally suggest you would follow something like this, because you've got to like measure, how many files you've got. Here we are, look, really good Microsoft document here. I'll put this in the chat as well, Kirsty, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This is the plan, look, though. Planning, access, remediate, preparing, because there's a bunch of things in there about like file structures and file names. There's a good way of doing it. I mean, do you want to take all the data, or just want to kind of take the stuff that's being most actively used, anywhere? I'm not just going to say, hey, yeah, just do it. Please have a read of that article before you do it. Okay. Otherwise, I'll feel like I've let you down, and I don't want to do that. I'm just going to put in here SharePoint file migration. That's what birds do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Migrate.
We're off.
Yeah, there we are. Good. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got one final question from Shabia. And we have office staff and care assistants. Our office staff have Office 365 subscriptions, but our care assistants do not have Office 365. What's the best way to create a company intranet accessible to all staff?
Great question. So I would say you've got a bunch of options. I mean, you could invite them as guests, but it doesn't always work that well in terms of like visibility. I do appreciate like within the sector that you're working, it's financially it's really tough, isn't it? There's not a lot of money, but what I'd say is Microsoft, and I've worked with kind of like charities, and the company that I work for as well. We do is I think it's called pro bono work, isn't it, Kirsty?
Yeah.
So it can probably help in that way. There is cheap plans available with Microsoft, and sometimes they will give licenses for free as well, especially if it's a good use case. So what I would say is, if you want to reach out to me after this, I'll do my best to help.
Wonderful. He's just letting us know that there's 140 care assistants.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, the thing is, like, just what you've said, it'd be perfect you know, because you can link people up and you can get people to communicate, and you know, all this stuff is fantastic, especially in this horrible period we're in at the moment, you know, with COVID, in terms of keeping people together and, you know, having that sense of community. You know, all these tools are like super important.
Okay, lovely. So that's it for the questions. Are you comfortable now to have a little 5-minute break, and then we'll come back after that?
Yeah, it's brilliant. But honestly, thanks for the questions. I really appreciate it. And yes, enjoy the break. I believe the music that's been played during the break as well, Kirsty, it's from the film Barry Lyndon.
So that was Rory that was playing that especially just for you at the beginning of.
I know. Thank you, Rory. I absolutely love Barry Lyndon. It's so, like,
well, he had control then, but I've got control now, so I'm going to go on with a little bit of jazz. I'm going to go with a little bit of jazz. So
fantastic.
No,
I love jazz as well. Thank you, Kirsty.
No worries. We'll be back in 5, everybody.
Bye for now. Bye-bye. Bye.
Hello everyone. Are you there, Paul? That was a quick 5 minutes, but I hope you've all got yourself some refreshments. I've just made myself a nice brew because it's the temperature's dropped in here. Are you there, Mr. Graham?
Oh, hello, it's me.
Hello.
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 So there's been no more questions throughout the break, so I will let you I'll let you crack on.
Oh, cool. Okay, I hope everybody's sitting comfortably. I've just kind of combed my hair actually in the intertwining bit. Look, I think it looks quite nice now. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. Am I still sharing my screen? No, I'm not sharing my screen.
No.
And honestly, thank you for keeping me right. You're the best, Kirsty. Okay, so I was explaining about this file migration thing, wasn't we? We went through that and it was quite nice. And so now we're going to in part 2 now. So where have we got up to? Okay, OneDrive. Okay, so this is the shortest demonstration of OneDrive like ever, probably. So everything we've just looked at there actually I'm going to close that other window because we don't get pop-ups. We don't want pop-ups, do we? Everything that we just looked at there for SharePoint document libraries. So, you know, in that SharePoint document library in terms of version history, okay. And, you know, looking at this folder and looking at the modified and created by and the file size and all that kind of thing. I just want to show you how SharePoint document libraries and OneDrive are just one and the same thing. So open up OneDrive like this, look. Okay, and then on here, okay, if I come down to visitors Excel sheet, for example, just give that a click, and then say version history, look, boom, all different versions of that document when it was used and when it was opened. Okay, just the same, isn't it? It is. Look, and I've got modified by file size and sharing. So on here it tells me what the sharing status is. So look, if I just go back to this library again, this SharePoint document library. If I hover over anything in the document library, look, I get this little box here, this like universal symbol for sharing. And then if I click on that, look, boom, it just says to me, hey, do you want to share this with people? And I can share this with people, you know, anybody with the link or people in this particular Microsoft 365 tenant, this organization, or people with existing access. So that's anybody who's like a member of the site, or I can say specific people. So if there's people outside the organization, I can do that as well. And then I've got options on here to allow editing. You know, if I want them to edit it, or I just want to have read-only access. But what I really want you to be aware of is it just works the same on OneDrive. See on here, visitors Excel sheet. If I give that a little press, look at this. No, it's just the same. It's always the same dialog box. And just to kind of show how uniform it is that the word? Yeah, how it's always the same. I guess that's what uniform means. Then what I can do is if I click into Office 365 on here, you know, that starting page where we started. From here, look, if I hover over any of these, look, click on there, look at that. Just the same, always the same behavior. Okay, even on my computer where I've got OneDrive connected, if I come onto here and I look at OneDrive Contoso, that is my OneDrive, because on my OneDrive there, what's happened is I've got this synced, and it's been syncing, it's sunk, and on there, you know, all these files here, they've been synced to my computer. And so if I click on there like this, look, that's the same as what we've got there, isn't it? This here just looks like that. It's a copy. And what I can do is, look, if I come onto here and I say, right click, and I say share, watch what it looks like. Whoop, look, it's just the same. It is, Paul, it's just the same. It's just the same. So it's always gives you the same behavior. And that's even the same if you're on a Mac computer. And also just be aware that, this stuff isn't just PC based. You can use this on your mobile phone as well. There's a fantastic office.com application that you can download, and you can scan text out of images. You can use it as a scanner and, take images of documents and convert them into Word documents and things like that. It's ever so brilliant. Okay. Is that okay? Good. So OneDrive, SharePoint, document libraries. Yeah. What are they? They're just the same. Just the same, aren't they, Kirsty?
They're all the same. They are.
They are. They're the same. Do
Same.
we have a question?
So Steve has asked, why is there both if they're all the same?
Brilliant, Steve. I love that question. Okay, and the answer to the question is like this. So OneDrive, right? That's mine. Okay, well, not mine, but whenever I work for an organization, I get OneDrive. That's somewhere for me to store my personal work documents. Yeah, and I can share things out from there. But you can see there's a weakness for that, because like people tend to move organizations, don't they? They get different roles within an organization, and so then those documents, you might lose them. So anything that's got any degree of permanency, anything where you've got team members, coming and going, and people like, moving roles and designations, yeah, SharePoint team site or SharePoint communication site document library. But any kind of like file that that you're using and it's temporary, or you might be doing like the lottery results and sharing it with your colleagues and stuff, you can just use OneDrive for that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, Paul. Emma has come in with a question. It's quite specific. We rolled out MS Teams just before COVID. We are now migrating our files from network drives to SharePoint. Yes. I've heard that the ideal approach to this would have been to have done the SharePoint setup and migration first, and then created associated teams from there. However, I can't go back in time. So now we're faced with the decision of whether to use the existing team sites that were generated when each MS Teams team was created, and adding any additional ones as needed, or creating a communication site that contains a lot of document libraries for each department and keeping separate from the team sites. Or perhaps there is another option I'm not aware of. For example, the hub sites that you mentioned earlier. What would you advise? I
would advise a hub site. So what I would advise is you would have like a top level communication site, and then you would use Office 365 group permissions. And then what you do is you'd have a look to see, what the file structure is. I mean, there's loads of things you can do in terms of tagging documents within SharePoint, so that makes them a bit easier to read. Obviously, we only have a couple of hours today to go into this, so it's like it's a real subject in itself. Again, Emma, I'm very happy to have a chat offline with you about that. For free, if I have a bit of a chat, I'll do that. If you want to, the offer's there if you want to do it. There's a few things we can do.
Cool, thanks, Paul.
Okay. Anything else?
No, we're good.
Oh, jolly good. But yeah, I mean, just what Emma said there. It's super common. Just to go into this, and like you say, time. Time really doesn't exist. Not really. It's only ever now, and we can't go back in time. It's only because we've got memories that we think there's a past, and only because we've got creativity that we think there's a future. Really. Okay. So, what we're going to do next is SharePoint lists. Okay, and why they're useful. And so, if anybody wants any more information on SharePoint document libraries, and things around this, there's a whole like sequence of stuff as well, actually, before I go on the lists about alerts and stuff. Again, what I'll do is at the end of this session, I will provide some links, because there's a message goes out at the end, isn't there, Kirsty, with so I can actually put links to kind of a bit more information if people want that.
Yeah, I can just make sure that that we get some emails sent out between me and Rory for both programs. Yeah.
Okay, mega. Okay, thank you. Okay, so SharePoint lists. This is like really key, totally underused feature, I think, of SharePoint lists. So SharePoint lists are this incredibly powerful database, which you can keep on reusing. You can use across multiple sites. You can store information in there. You can have up to 3 million items as well within them. Actually, before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into here and I'm going to say SharePoint limitations, because I'm sure that this will be some of the some of the kind of the questions that people have as well. So like SharePoint limits about storage within libraries and lists. So I'm just going to get that. Okay, and I'll pop that into the chat as well, because that is really important for people. I know when I've done this kind of talk before, people always ask, oh, I haven't got chat. Where's my chat gone? Oh, there it is. Silly me. Okay. Limitations, SharePoint, limitations. So yeah, I mean, I've done this kind of talk numerous times. I used to be the global trainer for Burberry, just a name drop, just to give you some assurance as well. So this kind of stuff is really, really useful, and if you use SharePoint and you use it well, honestly, it can just save you so much time. So you can see on here, look, size limits, it's absolutely massive, 1,000 gigabytes per site. Really, really good. Users, 2 million per site. This is real big stuff. No wonder big businesses use it. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at lists. So on here on this home screen, what I'm going to do is on this team site, I'm going to click on new on here and I'm going to say list. Now, Kirsty, I'm going to need some of your help with this, please, if that's okay.
Not a problem.
I'm a man with no imagination.
Oh, I don't believe that.
No, it's true. Honestly, I've got none. I'm just like, none at all. So here we go. This is a SharePoint list. I've called it Meal Planner. And what we're going to do is we're going to have like a title. We're going to have like a certain, like, I don't know, like what's in a meal, where we bought it from, what the date is. And we're going to add all that as columns. Now, whenever we create a SharePoint list, we always get this here, a column called title. And it works a lot like Excel. Okay, so what you can do is you can actually rename that. I can come here and say rename that. So what I'm going to do is instead of calling it title, I'm going to call it meal name. Okay, or name of meal would have been better, but anyway, we'll go meal name. And then we're going to say, let's have another column. Let's say blah, 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 blah. Let's say we're going to have multiple lines of text. Yeah, let's do that. And we'll have like ingredients. I also can't spell, Kirsty, so you'll have to tell me. Yeah, have I ever told you the story, Kirsty? And up until about the age of 11, I had such a bad speech impediment that hardly anybody could actually understand me.
No.
Yeah, and so like even now it still like catches me. Yeah, so it's like it's a real thing for me, a real like, oh, it's a bit of a weakness really.
Not really. You've spun it around and you're here talking to people all of the time. Like it's what you do.
I know, it's well weird, don't you think? Like, such confidence issues. I remember being in school assembly. I had this like headmaster, and he was like, he's very dominant, and he used to play Land of Hope and Glory as we came into assembly. And I remember sitting there, and I would just, even if you just like looked at me, I would just shake. And I've got to say, and that continued on, right? I'm 49 now. And I still had those feelings until about 39, 40, 41.
No way.
Yeah, how weird. And it's only just in the last few years that I've been able to kind of overcome it to a degree. But even now, I've got to say this morning, even before doing this, gosh, so nervous. Before I do anything like this, I always get very, very nervous before doing it.
Natural though, isn't it? I think everybody gets nervous before.
It is. Yeah, but it is totally natural. It's yeah, but it's honestly, I love being here. I love doing these things with us. So if I put on here, we're going to say this is a choice column. So I'm going to put on here shops, and we'll just give it some nice colors. We'll say Tesco. We'll say Asda, because my wife works for Asda. And then we'll say, where else? Aldi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one? Anybody? Lidl. Lidl. Yeah. So we're not showing any kind of brand loyalty, which is important, right? So we'll have 4. Oh, I'll tell you what, we'll have Morrison's. That's probably enough. We've got 5. Okay, right. And you can see every time I'm adding, like the color code changes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can also specify a default value. I've also got more options down here as well, and have drop-down menu. I can have radio buttons. I can allow multiple selections. I can say enforce unique values. So you know what I'm doing here? I'm doing a bit of form design as well as it's a list. That's really good, isn't it? It's really nice. And so I can say save. Okay. And then I'm going to say on here, I'm going to say date. So I'm going to say date and time. So I'm going to say I bought when. Okay. And I'm going to say, yeah, do I want the time? Yeah, go on, I'll do just to, just so you can see, the time, that's all. And then I'm going to say on here, I'm going to say number. Let's have a number. And what we'll do is we'll score it out of 10. Yeah, so we'll say out of 10. Okay. And I'm going to say options. I'm going to say minimum allowed number is 1. I'm going to say maximum allowed number is 10. Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? I can also make these columns required. Okay, but I'm not going to, because I just want to give you this as a demo. And so in here now, what I can do is I can say new. And I'm going to say meal name. So I'm going to start, because I've got no imagination. I'm going to say pizza, ingredients. I'll say tomato, and what? A bit. Yeah. But what did you say, Kirsty?
Just cheese, tomato and cheese.
Thank goodness, you know what I mean? I'm so pleased. Thank you. And then a base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What shop did we get it from? Tesco McCall.
If it was from Asda, it would have been a bit more exciting because we'd have got to create your own, wouldn't we?
Oh yeah, I know. It's good. I love that. It's really good, isn't it? And then we're going to say we got that at 9 a.m. because we were feeling really hungry in the morning. Score out of 10. I'm going to say 10. I love pizza, right? And I can just keep on going. So we'll say new, and we'll say the next one was
chili.
Thank you. Chili. What's in there? Chili.
So we've got kidney beans.
Oh, thank goodness.
Chili, tomato.
Oh, brilliant.
On and on, because you could be.
Honestly, you're the best. Where did we get it from?
We got it from Aldi.
Aldi, great. And we bought it. Actually, I think I bought the other stuff in the future, which would have been amazing, really. That's me saying about time machines. We said, we'll give it a 9. Okay, boom. Right, good. And look, it's yellow. That's nice, isn't it? And then we'll just do a few more. So just very quickly, we'll say soup. That's a soap, though, Paul. Soup. We'll say it was. I'm a vegetarian as well. Have I told you that? No. Actually, we'll do this really quick. So I'll just put soup in there. We'll say that was as the. And actually, I better go and give that a score. Now then, you see on there, I've added that one, but I pressed OK. But what I can do is I can just very quickly go in and quick edit, and I can just like do it very quick like this. Look, isn't that fab? I'm not really keen on soup, Kirsty. I'll give that a 6. And then on here,
time of year for a soup.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And then on here, so I'll put a corn. Got some corn. Yeah. I don't know why I eat corn. I don't even like it. Anyway, but I do. It always. I've got to say, it's really bad. It always like gets stuck in my throat, which is awful. Nobody needs to know that, Paul. I know. Okay. And then on here, we'll say it was a sandwich. Okay. And then on there, we can say, oh, look, we'll do Aldi again, right? And we'll say that was bought on the 20th. And we're going to give that one a score out of, anyway, you get the idea, right? So one of the really good things about SharePoint lists is you can get your Excel list, for example. If I just go into site contents now, okay, just want to show you what this looks like. If I said on here, new list, then what I can do is I can copy an existing list in SharePoint if you've got all that structure in place. It won't take the data, it'll just take the column headers. Or look, I can import from an Excel document. So if you've got an Excel document and you want to take it into a SharePoint list, then look what you can do. You can just do it straight into here. Isn't that fantastic?
That's Cool.
It's really cool. It's a big time saver. But what I really want to kind of show you on here is, some of the things that we can do. So this list here, look, if I go back to our document library that we were using before, look how similar it looks. So this document library here, right, just looks the same, doesn't it? It's just like, instead of just being like a list of items, this is a list of documents, but then we've got a bunch of columns off here as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say add column to this, right? And I'm going to say choice, like so. Under this one for the documents, I'm going to say, type of doc. And under the choices, I'm going to say HR. I'm going to say finance. Fine, don't spell like that. Finance. I'm going to say, I've got IT, save. Okay, right? And then watch what I can do. So if I go into folder 1, like so, and I've got my Roald Dahl document on here. If I go into quick edit, which is what we're doing in that list, right? I can say, well, type a document. It's an HR document, that. Okay, and then I can exit quick edit. Now keep all this in your mind that we're doing at the moment, because it is really important. If I go back to the documents at the top here, and I say new folder, yeah, and I say folder 2, okay. And then on here, I'm just going to say in here, new Excel document. Yeah. And on here, I'll just call this, I'm just going to call this back. So I just want to rename it, that's all. So I want to call this cartoon characters. Do you know any cartoon characters, Kirsty?
Bugs Bunny.
Oh, honestly, you're so honest. This is fantastic. So cartoon, I'll say cartoon. So we'll have like, so we'll say name. This on here, we'll say, Bugs Bunny, like this. Do you remember the new Shmoo? Anybody remember the new Shmoo?
No.
It's a Shmoo. It's the new Shmoo. Yeah, it was really good. Captain Caveman. Do you remember him? Captain Caveman. He's good. Really showing me edge. Do you remember the Hair Bear Bunch? Do you remember them?
I remember the Hair Bear Bunch.
In the Wonderland Zoo, there's certain bears who stay up every night, never quarrel or fight. Hey, we don't even bite. It's brilliant. Okay, right. Just doing that very, very quickly. That's folder 2. Go back over here. What I'm going to do is, on the cartoon characters, right, I'm going to say quick edit. I'm going to say, well, that type of document is a finance document. Yeah. Oh, it's the postman. How bad's that? Can you hear that in the background?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Like
I know. I can't. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay with you. 1 second. We'll go for a walk around my house. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like challenge, Annika.
Oh, I used to love that. I used to love that. It was the best. Yes, mate. Thanks, Martin. You're the best, mate. Thank you. Yeah, sorry for shouting down the phone there. Stop the clock. Stop the clock, Kirsty.
What have you found? What have you got?
I don't know what it is. That's what they used to do though on Challenge Annika, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it on Treasure Hunt or something? I can't remember. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. It was my daughter's birthday, so I think it's a present for her.
Oh, lovely.
I know, she was 15. I know what you're thinking. He doesn't look old enough to have a 15-year-old daughter. I know you're not thinking that. Anyway, so you can see on here, I've said this type of document is finance. Really cool, okay? And that is just like what we did with the meal planner, right? Isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Just the same. I'm just like adding things to it. Okay. So what I want you to be aware of here is, like, when we've got a SharePoint site, we can bring this information, onto our pages. So if I go to the home page on here, like so, yeah, I can say like this, new, and I'm going to say new page. Okay. So I'm going to call this a blank page. This is like proper intranet-y page. Okay. And now I'm going to say this is Paul's demo site. Now, do you remember about, I don't know, 45 minutes ago, I showed you that SharePoint lookbook of different site examples? I'm just going to very quickly put something together that looks a bit like that. So on here, I'm going to have like add a web part. So these web parts, right? These are all different things I can put onto this site. So look, I can have a Bing map. Look at this. How exciting is that? It's brilliant, isn't it? And I can say, where is it we're going to be looking at? So sunny Darlington, that's where I'm talking to you from today. It's always sunny in Darlington, isn't it? Yeah, and look, I can say on here, I can say I want an aerial view. Boom, okay. Isn't that fab, isn't it? So on here, I'm gonna give that a title, Sunny Darlington. Okay, and then I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna say add. And what I'm gonna put in here is just some other kind of web parts that I want you to be aware of. I'm gonna have a countdown timer. Like this, look. How good. Wow, that's brilliant, isn't it? And on here, and on here, I can say, right, what I want to do is I want to add a background image. And I've got a load of lovely stock images now on 365, which I can just go and use. So I don't have to use Unsplash quite so much. So look, I'll have a bee on there, look, you know. Oh, do you remember, Kirsty, have you heard of Captain Beefheart? You ever heard of him?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he sings this song called Summer Bee, right? And it's like Summer Bee in the morning, anyway, Summer Bee in the evening, Summer Bee, you and me. And then he sings, I'm going to give you a magic flower. And the first time you hear it, you think, oh, he's just saying, like, you know, be in the moment, you know, like this. But really, when you listen to the words, he's actually singing about a bee. And I think that's really lovely. Good song. So on here, look, you can adjust the kind of how, you know, the opacity behind it, look. And you can give it a call to action. So on here and say, right, I'll give it a call to action, HTTPS. We'll go BBC, because that's like got bees in it, yeah? The BBC, like this, okay? And then that'll be a call to action for us. I've put BBS, the BBC. There we go. And then what we can do is, you know, we can save our pages, we can save them as draft. Just know that if you do save your pages in SharePoint, okay, you get this kind of thing about publishing. So if you save as a draft, right, people don't see the changes to the page. When you say publish, right, then people do see the changes. Everybody can see it who's actually got access to the site. So it's like, it's very, very important. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll include that as well in there. Publish pages, because when you're doing an intranet, what you probably want to do is you probably want everybody who's an owner of that site, everybody who's actually got access at an ownership level, they want to see the pages, but then only publish them when they go live. So publishing pages is like super important. It's a real important thing. Okay, like this, boom. God, it's a long link. Okay, good. So on here, look, we have our, you know, we have our site. Oh, it's going to move that out of the way. And, you know, I've got a map, and I've got this thing of the bees. I've got to say it looks a bit rubbish at the moment. It looks a bit big, doesn't it, really? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say edit that page. And instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the spacing difference. So I'm going to say 1 column, 1/3 right column. That's what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to go and get our map of Darlington over here, and I'm going to drag it, bloom over there like that, look. And I'm going to go and get our bees like that. Look at that. How much better does that look? Okay, and I say save as draft. Looks nice, doesn't it? Well, looks nice-ish. Probably do something about the formatting over there. But now what I want to do is I want to go and get some of that detail of the site that we've done with documents. So I can click on plus here, and I can say, if I open this up, I can say what I really want to do is I want to go and get that document library. So I'm going to click on document library, and I'm going to go to documents, and look, wow, there's the document library we were looking at before, but I've brought it through to the page, right? Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah. Do you agree? Yeah, good. Okay. And but now what I want to do is I want to show you this really good web part called highlighted content. Right. Watch this one. It's fantastic. This actually goes and discovers the documents. So this web part shows you the structure. This one will show you the documents. And what I can do on here is I can say, right, okay, what I want to do is I want to go and get documents from a document library on this site, which is documents. And then I want to say, okay, column name. And I'm going to say category. Oops, sorry. Find a column, type of word to find column. Should work. Category. It's probably not going to do it because of the filtering. But in a bit, would actually let us. Oh, here we are. Sorry. So I'm going to find category through here. I do know what I'm doing. I totally promise. Do we call it document type? Content type. You know, I can't remember what I called the category. Isn't that bad? Type of doc. Dear me. Have we got any questions, Kirsty?
So just relating back to what you were speaking about before, Paul has asked, can you add a link to a file in a document library into a SharePoint list?
Yes. He must have something in mind. Why would he want to do that?
Don't know, Paul, do you want to let us know what you might need to do, and then our Paul can give you a...
It's so confusing, isn't it, when you've got so many polls. And then on here, look, I can say type of document, and I can say HR. And look what it'll do. It just pulls back the rolled R quote, because that one, yeah, has got the, 1 second, that one has got the document type of, look, HR. Do you see? Yes? Yeah? And if I change that from HR to finance, look, boom, then I just see the CON2 characters, because I've tagged that as a finance document. That's really good stuff, because what it means is you can bring documents through for people just to see, you know, certain documents. So on there, look, if I said call that document, if I call this finance documents, yeah, okay. And then beneath this one, I could have another highlighted content web part like this, boom, okay. And on this one, I could call this HR, yeah. And so I can say the source of this document is, or this document is, I'm going to say it's a page library on, not a page library, on this document library on this side. And then on here, I'm going to say that we are looking for document type, filter, title includes the words, column name, and then column name is equal to down here, type of document. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheat, right? Because you can copy these things. So on this one, I'm going to delete that, okay? And then on the finance document, I'm just going to say, duplicate that web part. Look at that. Isn't that good? It is. It's really good. And then I'm going to click on the pencil, and I'm going to say on here, right, type of document equals HR. Yeah, look. And so now I've got finance document, and I've got HR document. And it would do that. You could bring them through. You can also say, well, I don't want to see them as a grid. I want to see them as a list. Or I want to see them as a carousel. This will give me a preview of what's inside the document. I can also do that for here as well. Have you ever done any of this kind of stuff before, Kirsty?
I haven't, no. We've just recently kind of got SharePoint. I think maybe it's the last couple of months we're all kind of just coming to terms with using it.
But it does loads, and that's what I really want to get across.
It really does a lot.
You know, it's not this really boring thing. It's actually like really interesting, I think. And so the last thing I want to show you on this before we just start going to the next element is that list we created, right, about meal plans and things we're eating. You know, the one I've got no imagination on. What I can do on there is I can bring that through. There's so many different web parts, and I really encourage you to have a look at that Microsoft Lookbook, you know, that link I put in earlier, and just have a play about with this. Just have a, just have a play. It's, you know, I do, and that's how I learn. I just find the whole thing quite interesting. Only if you've got time, like, of course, I'm not encouraging people to do work when they haven't got time to do stuff, but it is really, really good. You can also bring in site activity as well and see how active you know, the site's doing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick chart okay, because I really do want you to see this. And I can get the data out that SharePoint list. So I can say on here, meal planner, yeah. And I can say, well, what I want is I want the score out of 10, okay? And then I want to say the labels are the title. And you see, what we have is this. So pizza was a 10, chili was 9, soup was 6, 7, 5. How cool, okay? And also I can say, well, I want it as a pie chart instead. Useful? I think so. I think it's really good. I think it's really good. Did you know it did that, Kirsty?
No.
Definitely. Oh, good. But so what you can have is you can have an intranet page with like loads of links on it saying, hey, welcome to this page. You know, just like we were saying with Lookbook, you know, just go back to Lookbook. So if you had like an intranet site, and these are really good starting points, you could say, right, okay, let's go down here. Here is a landing page example. Okay, so if you click into this one, then just like what we've been doing there, obviously this is a lot better than what I've been doing. They've got a countdown timer here, look. They've got a main header here, news header, looks like a news gallery with the main article and then other news elements off there. They've tied this in with Stream. So as part of Office 365, you get like a ring-fenced YouTube. So they've got a bunch of their videos on there as well. They say, now this is what's trending, this is what people are viewing. They've pulled the weather in. They've got different time zones on here as well. You can do that very, very easily. They've got their conversations on Yammer, if anybody's using Yammer. You can say, show my recent documents. So using that highlighted content web part we've just been looking at, you can just say, show me my documents, or show me the documents which I created and have just been edited. Or you can say, show me the documents which have just changed today. And it's dynamic, right? So like if I log in, I'm going to see mine. If Kirsty logs in, she's going to see Kirsty's. You know, it's like dynamic to you, but it's only going to show you the things that you've got access to, right? It's not going to show you things that you don't have the access to. It's like really good and super secure and safe. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so formatting lists. I just want to kind of show you how we can format a list quite easily as well, because they've made this kind of stuff a doddle. In years gone by, when we used to format lists in SharePoint, we used to have to use something called JSON formatting, which is like, oh, it was tough. I mean, you can still do that as well if you want to, but I'm just going to show you what we can do in here. So you can see on here that we have shops. Yes, it's all in different colors, isn't it? And Aldi's yellow. Okay, so this is using conditional formatting. But what I can do is from here where it says all items, I can say format current view. Okay, and I can say, oh, okay, I want you to do this. I want to use custom rules to format this list. And so I'm going to give that a click. And then I can say, okay, whenever a value changes, I can have a different rule. So I could say on here when it's 10, I could say make it red. When it's 9, make it different colors. Or I can just go back and I can say alternating row styles. And you see now what it's doing is it's it's making that a darker gray, lighter gray, and so on. Also, what I can do in here, I can apply a format to a column. So on here, I can say column settings, and I can say format this column. Okay, and again, I can say conditional formatting. I can do some rules on here. So I can say choose a column. So I could say out of 10, and I'd say choose a comparison, and say equal to, and say 10, and then on here, and keep on going, saying, choose a condition, and I can just keep on doing that. Okay. Now I can change this color. There we are. Look, and so we can see pizza. That's a 10. Okay, so it's highlighted in red. So it's a real, it's a really good, quick and easy way of providing some kind of like visual formatting to your SharePoint list. If anybody's really interested in this, again, reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Paul Graham. I think I'm in there under the Wat Tyler of information technology. Do you know who Wat Tyler was? Who he was, Kirsty?
No.
Do you know? So he was this man, right, in the 14th century, and he challenged the king and said that he wanted like all the power to be distributed evenly. And the king said, yeah, all right. But like these knights were so like upset with him for doing this that they went over and they chopped Wat Tyler's head off and they put it on a spike.
Grim.
I know, but I like what he did. And so from my point of view, for information technology, I'm trying to just make this like really easy and for everybody. Hopefully I won't meet with the same fate as what Tyler, because I really like me head being connected. So on here, I'm just going to give you some examples of what's possible with formatting and SharePoint lists. So if I go JSON formatting, don't be worried about the terms on this stuff. I couldn't even tell you what JSON stands for. I just know that it does something, and then I use it. I don't question things too much. When it's IT, obviously I question all the other things a lot about society and stuff. So JSON formatting examples, and then this is going to give us some nice links to actually working in JSON formatting, and I should put SharePoint on the end of that. Like this, look. And so on here, this is a great place to start. You know, like you can even have data bars for measuring your days. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that into our chat, which I've lost because it's down here. You wouldn't think I'd keep doing this, would you? Because, you know, I must be really frustrating for anybody to watch. You must think, oh, poor bloke. But still, though, it must give you hope because, you know, if I can do this and get paid for it, then formatter. Anyway, I'll put list format. There we go. Okay, so good stuff. So yes, I just want to kind of show you some like really posh examples of JSON formatting as well from somewhere called GitHub. GitHub's really good. So you can do this kind of thing. Look, you can take a really boring SharePoint list and you can create something that looks like a Twitter format. Look at this. Wow. See? So it looks like Twitter. That's nice. Or you can say, what I want to see is, I want to see a tile layout with formatting. Look at that. That's a SharePoint list, right? How cool is that? It's really cool, Paul. It's really cool. It is. It is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is on here. Oh, so I've lost the chat again. Oh, there we are. Oh, come on. Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. Brilliant. Okay. So like, so if I just say JSON example of formatting. Yeah. Mint. There we go. Okay. So there's like lots of good things to have a look at, and there might give you some ideas, just what you can actually do with it, because you can do loads with it. Right. Okay. Let's just see where we're up to now, because we've only got a few minutes left. Okay. Power Automate, right? Power Automate is this absolutely fantastic thing where we can just do things like super quickly within SharePoint. And so on here, if I come into documents, right, and I go into my folder 2, and I've got my cartoon characters, then what I might want to do with this is I might want to send it for approval, okay? And approval workflows are built in to SharePoint. If I tick that, and I click on Automate, and I click on Request Sign Off, watch this. I can say on here, when it comes in, look, request a flow. And what this is doing is it's going, right, okay, SharePoint approvals notifications. I'm saying, yeah, I want you to connect to all those different elements of 365. And when I've done that, it's then going to say, hey, who do you want to send it to? So I'm going to say, I want to send it to Fran, like so. And I'm going to say, you know, please review this document. Yeah. And I'm going to say run flow. Boom. Okay. And what it does is it then sends that document off to Fran for review. If I just do something similar to that again, I can say, and actually look at here, it says sign off status, it's pending. If I come into Power Automate and I say again, I say request sign off, what I'm going to do is going to send it to me just so you can see what the behavior is. So on the approver, I'm going to say send it to me. I'm going to send myself a document to approve. You probably wouldn't do that in real life, would you? But just for demonstration, I'm just going to say, please approve. Okay. Run flow, boom. And so I've run that. And then now if I go to my Outlook, I should get this notification to approve that document. Any second now, it should come through. And there we are, look, Microsoft Flow, please approve cartoon characters. It looks like this. And on here I can say approve, give a reason, say submit, or and say reject. and say submit. Okay, really, really useful. And there's a load of good flows available for you. You know, there's loads of flows available. You can get access to your flows by just coming into here, clicking on the app launcher, and then going to Power Automate. Power Automate is this flow mechanism. And how these work is, it's just like, it starts with a trigger. So you have to start it off, and that trigger can be, you know, you pressing a button and starting it. So if you press a button, and then what's going to do is going to copy a load of SharePoint files, or it's going to copy some images, or it's going to do some kind of like matching, or it's going to take an Excel document and it's going to take it into a SharePoint list. But you need a trigger. It's a bit like that Bruce Springsteen song, you know, you can't start a fire without a spark. You know, you do need a spark to start it off. So it can be a date, it can be an action. So you could say, well, when a SharePoint list item gets updated, right, I want you to start it off. When a document gets changed, I want you to send me an email, I want you to alert me. You can do it like this. And you can do it, that's actually Power Apps, I want to be in Power Automate. And you can do it from Power Automate. So this is what the Power Automate page looks like. And from here, you can see, you know, what flows you've got running. You can see templates and connectors. If I click onto create, then there's a whole bunch of pre-prepared flows. So you can say, save my Office 365 email attachments to my OneDrive. You can say, get a push notification for when you receive an email from your boss. You can say, get today's weather forecast for my current location. And if you give these a click like this, you'll see, you'll get this kind of view. And then you can say, just create flow. And look, you have this. And then if you say edit, then you can see it's all in blocks. So this one here is saying manually trigger a flow, and then it's saying condition, and it's saying, okay, right. You know, if you're in America, then you know, you're going to have a weather forecast in Imperial. If you're in Europe, then it's going to be metric. It's really clever stuff. And you can have conditions on here to decide. Okay. There we are, look. So what this is doing is it's saying if the country and region is equal to the United States, then do it this way. Otherwise, do it the other way. And then it's saying send a push notification. And the push notification is saying, hey, it's a high of this and a low of this. You know, so it's taking the image, it's taking all the data from the weather forecast connector. Okay. If anybody's got any questions on that, again, you know, reach out to me. I love a good bit of Power Automate. And the very last thing to show you, just to kind of whet your appetite really, is within here, if I go to that list that we created, meal planner, I just want to show you how we can convert any list or anything really that you have in Office 365 into an app. So on here, what I can do is if I click on Power Apps, I can say, right, what I want to do is I want to create an app. So I'll give it a name. We'll just call it Meals and then say create. And off it goes, getting things ready. Doop, doop, doop. All this stuff's dead easy. You know, don't overthink it. Keep it simple. If anybody's got an idea on what they'd like to build, just kind of try and like just do it in little bite-sized chunks. You know, if you've got it in a list, you can make it into an app. If it's in an app, you can have it on a mobile phone. So I've created these things for businesses like visitors logs, or most recently I've created a COVID-19 booking system for different resources for businesses. And you know what you have is this, look, it's absolutely fantastic. If I say play on this, look, I can see all the entries. I can say, you know, show me just pizza. Imagine if this was like many, many items. Or I can say reorganize it, you know, go the other way around, go alphabetically. Or I can say I'm going to add a new item to it, look. I can do that. Now it's an app. This could be on a mobile phone. It's dead good. There we go. Kirsty, do you have any questions?
We don't know. So there was the one at the beginning. I think you might have covered it, but I'll just ask it again just to make sure that we did cover off the one that.
Is that about the Teams and SharePoint?
So it was, yeah. So we talked about Teams and SharePoint work together.
Yeah, honestly, I'll just do this super quick because it is pretty easy. If I go into Teams from here, okay, so this is Teams, what we all know and love. If I'm having a chat with somebody in Teams, okay, So if I'm in chat here, okay, there's Fran simply, ignore the following call. If I go into here and I say share, right, look what it's doing. It's using my OneDrive as the sharing mechanism. Okay, so if I say on here, upload from my computer, and then if I go and get, I'll go and get that spinner GIF, for example, right? Like this, okay? Then watch what it does. Okay, that spinner GIF goes here, but if I go into my OneDrive on here, like so, then I've got a folder in here, look, and it's called Microsoft Teams chat files. Anything that I share gets put into there, spinner.gif. And then if I look at the properties of that particular document, look, it'll see that it's shared with Fran. Look, on here, look, manage access. See, shared with Fran. And that's done that all automatically because I've done that from Teams, just like that. It's different behavior, however, if I'm actually in a team and not in a chat. So if I'm on a team here and I go to Paulie's private team, okay, and I go to production, watch what happens now. Okay, so on here, okay, oh, my view's all gone weird. 1 second. Go into general and do it then. Okay, I'm going to say new conversation, right? So down here, what I can do is, if I click on the paperclip now and I say, look, I've got more options. I can bring documents from my OneDrive, from other teams, or from recent documents I've been using in Office 365. If I say, oh, upload from my document now, and I get the spinner, watch what it does. It's actually uploading it. It's actually taking that file and it's putting it to the SharePoint site, which is associated with Paulie's private team. If I click on files on here, look, I should see the spinner. And if I say open in SharePoint, then it's actually on Paulie's private team SharePoint site. There's the spinner. So that's the behavior difference. But I'm sure you can agree it's very, very similar. Just one's OneDrive, one SharePoint, but OneDrive is SharePoint. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll make that 12 bells. Is there any other questions?
It is, yes, we've got a couple more questions. Emma's asking, can you create an app from a form?
You can create an app from a SharePoint list. And so what you can do is using a form and using Power Automate, you can get the data to go from a form into a SharePoint list into an app. Okay. Or if you just always remember that Microsoft Forms are like responsive. They work on mobile devices, so that's not a problem. You could just use the form on a mobile device. All the SharePoint sites that we've been looking at, they'll all work in size appropriately onto mobile devices as well. So depends what you want to do, but you can do it.
There's a couple of people asking if they can contact you after this, but like you did mention there, is LinkedIn probably the best place to?
It is, yeah. LinkedIn's great. There's a black and white picture of me looking mean and moody on there. Cool. I was in a Richard Marx Hazard kind of mode when I took that picture.
Thanks, Paul. And then the last question. Excuse me. Can SharePoint interface with company websites? We provide retained services, and we're about to change our lowest level retainer to document access only. I can see the potential of SharePoint storage, but would want to direct clients to our website. Can we share documents via our site, but store on SharePoint and interface?
Okay, so I used to work for a company and they used to use something called Kentaco to achieve this. So yeah, you can get connectors for it. Again, if that person wants to ping me, I can give them put them in contact or give them some links to more information on that. But yeah, you can do connectors in that respect.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So that's all that we have for the questions. So thank you so much for this morning, Paul. It's been very useful. I've picked up some handy hints and tips there myself. Before we let anyone go, obviously, we'll just make those that are joining from the Digital Knowledge Exchange aware of the Go Digital Live event that we've got taking place on the 1st. So please get involved in that. I'm going to send you over an email. I'll get some information from Paul about the links that we discussed. So when I send over an email with the follow-up survey, if you can complete that, and then I'll get that the other bits and pieces to you as well. So again, thank you so much for that, Paul. We really appreciate it. I've realised that my little face isn't on. Be nice just to say goodbye. So yes, everyone, you take care, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thanks again, Paul.
It's been honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I've really enjoyed the questions. Thank you for, thank you for paying attention and for listening. I hope you found that useful. If you've got anything, just reach out to me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
You're the best. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.